Welcome guys, welcome to this video. In this video we're going to create a quiz so you can have as many questions you want. We will build this quiz here so you can select the question, hit next, and use any of the options, and then you can next and you get the results, and you can see all is done. It is only in the PHP and we will use JavaScript to some extent. You can build this quiz as well as include in your PHP website anywhere you want. I'm also going to provide you the code for it, so let's get started. Alright guys, so I have the XAMPP server here, and what you need to do, make sure Apache and MySQL is running, so I'm gonna run that. After that, what we're gonna do, I can open the browser. In the folders, create the file. So here, first of all, for this guide, I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code. I have it here, and what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna drag and drop test folder here, so we have it like this now. So now in here, we're gonna create a file. We're gonna call it index.php. And this file is going to be the one where we're gonna have everything running. So for now, if I say here, for running PHP, you need to start PHP tag. So you just say something like this, and then you say echo, and you can say hello from PHP, and then test. And when you go there, you get hello from PHP. Now, what we want to do is we want to build a quiz here. So we need to do a lot of things. So first thing, I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to use the tailwind CSS for a bit of styling. So it's not going to be much, but you can use the tailwind as well in your projects if you want to. So if you go into Google and type tailwind playground, you will get the tailwind play. There you will get this page where you have the styled component at the right, and the code of it is at the left. If you want to learn Tailwind, you can come here, see in this page how Tailwind works, how you want to make changes. As this is not the tutorial for Tailwind, so I'm not going to go any further deep into it, but just want to let you know that you can practice here and you can go into their website as well as check that. So for now, I go back to our page, and here so far we have only the CDN imported. Is the I'm gonna give this body a class, so I'm gonna call it class here, and this class is going to be BG gray and 100. This is again Tailwind, so PY padding here I'm adding, and I'm passing 12. So this is something that we don't want to go deep into as it's a Tailwind, so I'm gonna add some more styling, and I'll show you as well how it works. So as I'm using more and more Tailwind here, so you need to have a bit of familiarity so you can check the Tailwind site. But let me show you what exactly I did. So I have a card-like box, which is with the rounded and the box shadow we gave, and the background is white. So this gray background, it's the whole here you can see, and here we also passed the padding as well. So here in the middle we have it, so we have quiz here. You can put anything if you want. So that's how it is working so far. Now the main thing is how the question is going to be working. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a file here, and I'm going to call this file 2 questions here. So I paste the questions here. So we have questions, we have the options, and we have the correct answers. So you can have like multiple questions. I'm adding 2 just to prove the point that it is dynamic, and you can add more as well if you want to, but just to make this tutorial short and quick, I add only 2. So I save this, and now it's the time that we fetch these here. Okay, so the first thing first, we want to go here inside the script tags, and here I want to get the data. So the data is basically these questions. So let's read these questions. So here I'm going to say let. So this is how you define the variable in JavaScript. Let's make some space here, and I'm going to make it large so you can see it clearly. So I say here questions. All right, content. All right, so this contents, and then we're going to say, okay, there is a file in the same directory, questions.json, get that from there, and then I'm gonna say console.log, and we're gonna pass here questions, just like that. Save this, and we need to go back to the browser, and see what happens. So I inspect here, and then I go to console and then refresh the page. Now we get this not defined because to make it work, we need to make sure, because this is a PHP function and this helps us read the content. But if you notice, I'm using this inside the script tag. So what do we need to do? We need to simply say here, first thing, echo. Now here we want to say it's PHP. So when you use PHP inside JavaScript, you need to use it with PHP tags. So this is how it's going to work. Now save it, go back to the browser and refresh. Let's see what happens this time. Now we have the content. You can see that we have questions options as we're supposed to get. So correct answer, everything is coming here. Okay, so we don't want to console log it, and we just want to remove that console log for now. And now the next step is I want to check the index. Basically, we have this array. So it's on 0 index, we have this question. On first index, we have this. If we have more questions, there are going to be more indexes. So here, I'm going to set one index. And so it's going to be a variable. I'm going to call it let, and I'm going to call it current question index. Okay, so the current question we are processing, its index is 0 because we want to start from 0. Then we want to say let, and then it's going to be score. So each time we reply, we want to calculate the score so that we can at last find out like how many correct answer we given for that purpose. So what I want to do, I want to write a function. So what I do, I say here, I gonna say load, and then questions. Actually, so one question we're gonna load it at one time. So I'm gonna call it, and I'm gonna pass here the index of it. So this is the function we want to have. Now currently we don't have this function. So what I want to do when I create this, so to create a function, you call function load question, and we are passing index. So you can call it anything like index here. So now inside it, we want to load the questions. So now you can see that we have questions array on top here. So in function, what I do, I would say console.log. I would simply call questions here. And when I pass here the index, okay, we can get the first question because it's a 0. Array starts from 0, so it should get this question. All right, and this function will be called automatically because we are calling it here. So when the page loads, it is going to call automatically. I save it, go back to browser, refresh, and we get error. So let's see what it is. So we go back here. Now this is happening because we need to put here a semicolon like this. Now it should be fine. So refresh, and we have the question. Now we notice here, this is the first question. What is the capital of France? So that's the question we have here. Now if you pass the index as, I'm gonna go back here, and I say current index is 1. I save this, go back here, you will see the question is changed because array starts from 0. So this is on 0, this is first, and that's how it is loading here. So now what do we want to do? We want to get this question first of all. So I'm going to cut this, remove this from here. And here I'm going to pass it to 0. So current question will be 0, and we want to set it to some variable. So I say let here, and I want to call it question data, and I want to set it to equal to this. So whatever it is, it's going to get the question data. Now I want to set here let, and I want to show this question. So we say question and HTML. So you can have any name. Basically, it depends on how you want things to be working. So here, what do you want to do here? I want to set here basically some HTML. So I'm going to put here basically the question data. So what we can do here, we can say here question data like this, and then we can get anything from here. So if I call question and put here as question, and then here I console log again, you will see that we are getting that value. So put here, go back here, refresh, so we get the question only. So I want to show this. So to show this, we just want to use the because we want to load dynamically, so it's going to be a label. So label, and we are going to put inside this label our content. And actually I better use p tag, so I remove this and put it like this. So let's see what is happening here. So basically and this needs to be, I use a backtick instead of this single quote. So backtick goes like this, and I'm gonna show you how it works. So backtick, when you put the variables, you can see that variables are highlighted, and if you put the single string here, single quote like this, then it becomes a complete string. So we don't want that. We want variables to be dynamically loaded. So we use backtick here. Only I'm saying that using a p tag, and then I'm saying here the index dot +1. So basically index is 0, if you remember. So initially going to be index 0, and it's going to be 0, 1 + 1. That means first question, we are showing this on the page. Okay, so that's going to be, now we have question HTML, so we can see that as well. And here we are showing the question. Now, when you use backtick, you use to display any variable, you use dollar and curly brace like this, and put the variable inside it, just like this. Okay. Now we go back here and refresh. You will see here we are getting the number 1 and then the capital of France. This number 1 is generated from index +1, and then the question itself came from here. And this dot is just to put a dot in between in here, which you're seeing this dot. All right, now these are multiple choice questions, so there are 3 choices, so we need to loop through. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna loop through here. So for that, we're gonna say question dot data, sorry, not data there, the variable is question data dot options. All right, so this is what it is. We say for each. For each is the loop that you can use here, and then I want to call here option, and this is an index, so I call it IDX for short form. And here again we need to return something, and this return going to be the HTML for the question options. So I'm going to call here question and then HTML. But this time I want to append the text. So whatever comes, it will join. So first we will have a question join to this, and this will come and join to the options. So basically we want to join these so that in on page we'll be able to display. So here we want to join is again a string. We're going to use the same approach, backticks, and inside it we will have some HTML. So we have label, and I gave it a class of block. So take the block width, input there is, type is radio, so we can click on that. We are calling this as a name of answer. For the value, we are passing again, you can see that dollar and curly brace to dynamically load the values, and then this label is ending. So this way it is going to join it. And what do we want to do once all is done? If you remember, initially we had the question section here, so this is where we now want to render it. So how you will render it? So for rendering it, we're gonna say here document, and then get element by ID. So it's gonna be, and then we want to pass the ID. The ID here is the quiz question section. So copy that, put it here, then go here, dot inner HTML. So HTML, and then equals to question HTML. All right. Now you go back here, refresh, you see here what is happening, what is the capital, and we have the options. So this is all appending and joining there. So now you can select, you can see one at a time it is selecting. So Okay, now it's time that we have a button here. So on click of these options, we should get a button that tells us to go next. So currently we have a button here. If I remove the hidden class here and go back here, you will see that the next is there, but we want to work with it. So how we do it? So basically I'm gonna say here, so this, let's, basically I'm gonna call, so we're gonna use the same thing, document.getElementById. You're gonna copy it, paste here. This time it is gonna target the next button. I'm gonna copy this, go back here, and paste it right here. Now what do we want to do? We want to add an event listener. So when it clicks, it should tell us. So it's add event, and then you call listen. Okay, and then you say what event we are listening for. We are listening for click, and when it clicks, it should run a function, and that function will do what? It will do something, and that is show. Actually, load next question up. Let's call it next question. So we need to create another function, show next question, and currently we have one function here. So this function will call on click of. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this and paste it here. Actually, we can put all the functions together. So after the load question, I put here function number 2, show, and here we, for now, I say alert here. Okay, refresh. Okay, so far, so we have the questions back here. Now I'm just gonna remove the hidden for a moment and go back here and refresh. When I hit click here, we get alert. So far so good. Now I'm gonna remove it. Now let's see why I created this show next question instead of directly calling the load question. So the thing is, we need to check if we reached the last question or not. So here we're gonna say let, and this let is going to say, let's say selected option, because we are selecting the option, so we need to have an option here. So okay, after that, what we want to say, we're going to say document dot, and this time it's going to be query, and this is selector. Okay, so for the query selector, what we can do, we can basically target. So here, if I go here, we are saying that then this is input and with the name of answer, right? So we can target this. So here we will say, for the query selector to target it, we will say they're going to be input type input, which is going to have name, and here they're going to be one thing. When you have the single quote outside, inside you need to use the double quote, or if you have the double quote outside, then you can use single quote inside. So here we need to use double quote, and here I'm gonna say answer. All right, and then I want to check that it is checked. So this is how you do that. So we are checking it. If it is checked, we close the single quote, and at the end, semicolon. Now here, what do we want to do? We're going to say if. So we have the selected option. So that means user clicked and a user selected something. And what do we want to do here is, so we say if the second time. So first we are checking if the user selected. Second time we are checking if it is correct answer or not. So we say selected option, all right, dot value. Okay, so if you go back here, these are going to be the options, and when you are rendering these, we are setting a value here. So we are picking that value, and now we're going to check if it is equal to questions, and then we want to pass here the current questions. Current questions we have here. So whatever index you pass, it will give us the current question. And here we can get the current answer because we have the current answer with each question, so we can get that. So if it is equal, So what do we want to do? If you remember, we created the score initially, so that we need to increment this. So each time we are correcting something, we will increment the score. So that way we can show the user how many correct answers they gave. And once this is done, after that, I want to say that they increase this because we want to show the next question. So we will say the index needs to be increased. And here, what we're going to do, we're going to say, when you increase the index, because we have 2 questions right now. If you have 10 questions, we still need to check if we reached the 10th question, or in this case, we reached the last question here. So we need to put the check here because we are increasing that index. Because if you remember, we are putting this index here, as well as basically this is the one we are passing in load questions. So here, right? So what we're going to do, we want to put this variable first of all, and we want to say that it should be less than whatever questions we have. Okay, so we have questions.length. So this is basically going to check the array length. If you have 10 questions, it will check for 10. It will check for 2 if you have 2. So here for length. So it's completely dynamic. You can modify it as you want. Now, if it is less, what do you want to do? We want to do the load question, and we would put here. Now, as you increasing the index, we can pass the index after increasing it. Now, once this is done, we want to put else. Else means all right, we reached the end. So we say here, show result. Now this is another function, we don't have it yet. So let's create it. So here, I copy this the same way I want to create it together to this one. And I say function, show result. Let's go one more time there. So if you remember, basically what I'm doing here is load the next question if it is the length is less than the array length. And if it is not, that means we reached the last question, and so show the results. Now to show the results, we need to deal with score, because if you remember, we are here checking if the correct answer, then increase the score each time. So that will show us the how good the user did. Now for this, you need to hide the question part, and you just need to show the result. So for that, first, we need to hide stuff. So I'm gonna go here again, document.getElementById, copy it and paste it. And here I'm gonna go and say question section, and I want to say here .style.display, and I want to set it to none. So we are just simply hiding the question part, so the question won't be displayed. I'm gonna copy this line again, paste it here. I don't want to show the next button anymore, so we go back here because we reached the last question and we need to show the results, so we don't need to show the button as well. So these 2 things going to be hidden. Now we can show the same way that way we did here. All right, so we just gonna copy this from here, and I'm gonna paste it here. Now we're gonna make a few changes, of course, because this is not gonna work this way. So what I want to do here is, first I want to say that, okay, this portion, there is no variable. We simply call it quiz completed. All right, so we are telling the user he successfully did the completion of quiz. You just increase it. So P will take 1 line. After that, you can put another. And here I want to put basically the score. So for putting the score, same thing. You put another P tag here, dollar and curly brace for showing the variable. And here we have score and questions and the length of the questions. So this is how it's going to be. Now, if you remember, we are showing the question sections here, and the same way, I'm just going to copy it and here paste it. But for this particular case, we need to show it in the results section. If you remember, we have a div here, results section. Copy that, go back here, and show result will show this here. All right. So this is so far. Now there's only one thing left. So if I go back to the page and refresh and see if I click here, when the user selects an option, we should get the next button. So currently it is not showing. So what I do here, basically, we need to set a event listener again. So I copy this portion and put it here. And what we want to do this time is, so we simply say document add event listener. Okay, so it's going to be on change. And so basically we are adding the hidden class here, and we need to remove this hidden class from the button. So what we do, basically we can say here this, or actually copy this, go back here instead, this on change. What do we want to do? We don't want to change the style here, so we simply say here dot, because we have 3 buttons, right? So 3 of these options, sorry, not 3, the options are there, but so any of these 3 options, when the user clicks, the change will trigger, and then we go to next. Here we say here class, and then we say list, and we want to dot remove, and the class that we need to remove is hidden. So hidden. Okay, so when I see here now, when I click here, we get the button. Refresh. Now let's see. So I say Paris here, we click next. Let's see, it loads the next question for us, and I click then next answer, then I hit next, and we get the quiz completed. Score is 2 out of 2. So if I go back here, I say London this time, and this time I say Mars again, so we get 1. So you can even show that success or passed or failed here. I say 6, and the correct answer is 2. So you save this, go back here and refresh. Now you say here London, next, Mars, next, and the 1 + 1 is 2. So next you get 3, 2 out of 3 correct. So you get the idea. You can add as many questions as you want, and it will work.